Hara. Still there? Are you still there? My brain is gone and my head is empty and I am no longer human. All right. Hi. Hey. Hi. Hello, my bookish friends. I'm Elizabeth. This is Reading Riley. Welcome or welcome back. Here, we like to read Riley. We like to not take ourselves too seriously and we like to have fun with books. So, that's it. That's what we're here for. I'm doing something different. I started reading a horror book. And it is The Drowning Kind by Jennifer McMahon, which came out on August 6th of this year, 2021. The year of our Lord. So anyway, I started reading this book and this idea kind of evolved along the way. I am interested in horror. I'm interested to find out what I like about horror. I'm interested to find out what scares me in horror, if I can be scared by a horror book at all. I don't know. I also learned there are so many subgenres of horror, and since The Drowning Kind is kind of a haunting type subgenre, I decided I was going to read 3 books about hauntings, and that's where we're at. What I started with was The Drowning Kind, then I moved on to The Haunting of Hill House, which is a classic, which I figured, why the hell not? Let's try it. And the last book I will be reading is The Only Good Indians by Stephen Graham Jones. We're exploring the subgenre. We're doing an experiment.
Can I get scared? Do I like these books? Does it matter who the author is, what the genre is?
What matters and what's good and what do I like? That's what all of this is really. I'm trying to narrow down what I like so I can pick books that are more likely for me to enjoy in the future. It's an exploration. It's an experiment. It's what it is. Let's get into it. Bam. I don't want to touch the lens. I'm not gonna do that. So we have Lexi and Jax. We're reading from Jax's point of view. When they were kids, their grandmother was agoraphobic. In present day, Lexi has some mental health issues. I think she may be bipolar. They have all these experiences in this pool as kids together where they would play the death game or something where they would hold their breaths and lay face down in the pool. Lexi was a really good swimmer. She's stressed this over and over. Lexi calls Jax one day in what Jax is assuming is one of her manic episodes and she doesn't feel like answering, so she just lets it go to voicemail. Come to find out the next day, Lexi is dead. She drowned in the pool. Then we're cutting over to early 1900s. We're following another couple. They just seem like a really sweet couple. I think he's like a doctor or something and she's trying to get pregnant. She's getting nervous about the fact that, you know, the baby hasn't come yet. They have this perfect marriage and the only thing that could make it better is having a child. And so her husband, Will, wants to go to this new hotel, has this fountain of youth. And supposedly it's supposed to cure ailments and all of these things. In that timeline right now, they're just heading off to this hotel. That's where I'm at so far. I'm not going to give you too many updates. Probably check in at the 50% mark and see where we are from there. This is supposed to be a horror. So far, I'm definitely getting some creepy vibes, but nothing too crazy. Okay, I haven't gotten much farther, but there is some building up happening here. So she's staying at her sister's house, which is her grandmother's house. There's a lot of weird stuff going on. There's water and mold places. Lexi used to tease Jax about how her aunt haunts the place and you can hear her squishing as she got out of the pool in the night, squishing footsteps down the hallway. We're definitely getting haunted house vibes. I'm getting this eerie feeling that it's like something at night. The water does something at night. If you're in contact with the water at night, something happens. I don't know. All right, y'all. I am just about halfway done with The Drowning Kind. It's interesting. A lot of stuff is coming together. There's a lot of creepy vibes. There's this something from this pool, and there's something that's calling people down there. The pool grants miracles, it grants wishes, but it giveth, and it taketh away. We have a lot of consequences for things that have happened. I'm not really scared. I don't know if I can get scared from a book. Not from like a ghosty vibe anyway. Maybe from like other things. It's probably like a 3 or 3.5 for me. Let's see what happens. Maybe something's gonna amaze me. I don't know. We'll see. So I finished The Drowning Kind. I liked it. It was good. I liked the end. It definitely had different connections between different people in this town, and it was very ghosty. While it tied up a lot of loose ends, it left a little bit ambiguous. Although the ending, I think, was satisfying. But I have to say, it wasn't effective for me. I wasn't scared. And now that got me thinking down this wormhole of what scares me and what doesn't. I'm gonna read 2 more haunting horrors and see if it's just this book that didn't scare me, or if it's this subgenre, or if it's this particular writing, or if I just can't get scared by books. I don't know. So overall, I'm giving The Drowning Kind 3.75. I wasn't scared, so I want to try to get scared. What does it take for a book to scare me? Honestly, it doesn't take much for a movie to scare me, because I think a lot of it is the atmosphere, the sounds in the background just slowly creep up and then we can't get that from books. It's all in our head. So are we testing what kind of horror scares me, or are we testing how good my imagination is? I don't know. But this is going to be a bit of an experiment and maybe a new series to test the different subgenres of horror. Horror. I'm starting The Haunting of Hill House, and I'm on chapter 4. So far, we're just kind of gathering these people. Dr. Montague, I think it is. He basically is wants to find a real haunted house, and he debunks every haunted house he finds. And so he's gathering all these people, and I don't yet know the purpose of them. I know one of them is related to the house, and he's written all these people letters, and they're just kind of gathering them to Hill House. That's all I know so far. All of these haunting movies blur together, the movies, so I don't know if I've actually seen this or not, but I think it's better to leave it ambiguous at this point, because I'll discover along the way if it sounds familiar or not. But yeah, let's see if this one scares me. Let's see what we can do. Eleanor is talking about how she is terrified of wearing slacks, and now I'm confused. The reasons that they are being taken to Hill House have been exposed. So obviously we've got Dr. Montague. He is doing his research. He wants to find out if this house is in fact haunted. So in order to spend some time in the house, the family that owned the house agreed to let him do this under the circumstance that a member of the family was with him to kind of supervise. So that is why Luke is there, because he is the heir of this house. And then Theodora, oh Theodora, what to say to you, is there because she has telepathic talents. And then we have Eleanor is there because she had some kind of poltergeist situation. Dr. Montague thinks that their energy is going to make the psychic phenomenon greater, more likely. I don't know. So far, I'm really enjoying the writing style. I'm really enjoying the characters. Nothing scary has happened. Oh, we also have these 2 caretakers that are Mr. and Mrs. Dudley, I think. They're just very cryptic. Mrs. Dudley keeps saying, talking about her arrangement. This is part of the arrangement.
I will not be waiting on you. I will not be doing this and that.
They're kind of funny, actually. We're at our first night, and they're talking about the history of Hill House. It sounds really creepy. It sounds good. I'm not scared in any way, but I'm very much enjoying the story so far. Okay, I'm getting very similar themes to The Drowning Kind as far as this thread of feeling like you're supposed to be there, or this connectedness to the house itself, which is really interesting. Eleanor is really intriguing as a character. I find her to be a very odd bird. She's wildly insecure, but very interesting. All right, y'all, it's the next day. I have about 30 minutes left of The Haunting of Hill House, and I don't know how I'm feeling about it, to be honest. I really enjoyed the character building at the beginning and getting to know these people, but it took too long to get to anything. It was more than halfway through the book before literally anything that could be considered scary even started happening. There's something about at the end of the road, a lover's meeting. There's this little couplet poem-y thing that they keep repeating and all the characters keep repeating. Eleanor, something's just weird going on with Eleanor. She's real strange. And it seems like they're almost like being possessed, like they're giddy at times when it's unnatural. They are angry at each other sometimes for no reason. There's just some really weird things going on. I'm feeling like it's one of those situations where something's gonna hit and it's all gonna make sense and it's gonna like blow my mind. And if that's the case, I cannot wait to get to it. But considering I only have 30 minutes left, I'm getting a little bit skeptical as to whether or not that's actually going to happen. I'm not judging the book based on whether I'm scared, like I want to be scared, but that's not going to be my overall rating of this book. It's not going to have any effect on me because that's a me thing, clearly. And that's just one little point that I'm trying to investigate with this. So far, I'm not loving it. And I'm surprised because this book has so much hype. This should be interesting. I'll let you know when I finish it, see what happens. Who knows, maybe it'll blow me out of the water. Maybe it's gonna come around with some kind of twist and it's gonna just knock me off my feet. I hope it does. All right, hey guys, I forgot to update you. My lunch break's almost over, so I need to do it now. Okay, I finished The Haunting of Hill House, and I gotta say I didn't love it. I'm actually pretty disappointed. I feel like I missed something. Let me know if I missed something. I don't think I did, but I thought there would be a through line connecting the family that lived there before and these people that were in there now, especially with Eleanor and some of the things that happened. I don't want to give any spoilers, but there wasn't. I did enjoy the psychological nature of it, where these people were clearly being influenced mentally by whatever the presence was in this house. I just don't feel like it was wrapped up in any way that made sense to me. It was just kind of like, well, this is what it is. It wasn't descriptive in the way that I wanted it to be. And not that I wanted it to be like gory, but I wanted more of this sense of tension that I didn't get. I also listened to the audiobook. I didn't particularly like the narrator. I assumed that Eleanor was a little old lady based on the voice, and she's actually supposed to be a 32-year-old woman. That was strange to me. I wanted it to be better woven together. Like the Drowning Kind definitely did that, where this one didn't. So now we're like, okay, is it the writing? Is it this particular author? Is it the genre? I don't know. So I've started on my next book, which is The Only Good Indians. This one I'm going with a little bit of a different approach because it's not a haunted house per se, but it's a haunting of a person. I'm thinking this is going to be a little bit more effective for me in that it's more of a spiritual type situation and actively trying to kill somebody. This being about a culture that I'm not as familiar with, that's already stepping outside of my comfort zone. I'm hoping to get a little bit more of a shock factor than I have in these past two books. So far, it's pretty good. Also, Lewis, our main character, is a mailman. So already I'm like, we're vibing. This writing style is definitely different, and I've been listening the whole time trying to pinpoint what is different about this writing style, and I really can't. I really don't know yet. It's very direct, but at the same time, it's not lyrical writing, but it does paint a picture in your head in a very direct way. It's contradictory in that sense and jilting in the way that it's told. I am getting a little bit more of a creepier vibe from this, so we're hoping that this is going to be the one that scares me. Here's to that. Fingers crossed. I'm off the next couple of days, so you'll get some other scenery other than this. I didn't get any reading done on my days off, but I've just picked back up The Only Good Indians. And holy fuck. This book is crazy. This book is wild. I'm kind of scared. It's going back and forth from third person and then sometimes second person. The second person is when they're talking to the spirit. I don't know. I'm so confused. I don't know what to tell you without giving anything away. But this book is not what I thought it was. And at first I was like, is this even a haunting book? Is it not a haunting book? But it kind of is. I'm gonna be sweating, sorry. I'm in Texas, it's hot. I don't know if I told you the story about what actually happened because I thought it might have been a spoiler, but at this point I don't think it is. So I'm gonna go ahead and tell you what happened. So there's 4 friends, Native American, they call themselves Indians. I don't know if that's a thing where you can say it and I can't. I'm gonna say Native Americans. They were hunting together 10 years ago on the last day of the season, the last day they could all get together, and they're not finding any elk. They kind of trespass onto the elders' land, which is like especially reserved for the elders, and they find this like herd of elk. I don't know if they're called a herd, but they go crazy. They shoot 9 elk. Lewis, the one in particular that he shot, would not die. First, he shot her in the back and broke her spine, and she kept trying to get up, which was like incredible. So he shot her in the face, and then she still didn't die. And then he realized that she was pregnant, and she's like really young and really thin, and she shouldn't be pregnant, but she's pregnant. And at this point, he's like, oh my God, she's pregnant. I don't know if I should do this, but it's too late. So he shoots her again. He has to shoot her 3 times before she dies. And this elk, I don't know if it was some kind of special elk. There's a lot of talk of like reincarnation and things of that nature. But anyway, these boys, men, they are involved now in something. They're like cursed now. They've fucked with the wrong elk. I don't know what's real and what's not. I don't know what they're imagining and what's not. Wow. Wow, 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 wow. I'm like just over halfway through. I have so much more. I don't know where this can possibly go. What is this story? Is it fantasy? Is it paranormal? Fantasy. Paranormal. Ghosts. Are all ghost stories fantasy? My brain is shattered right now. It's so deep. Oh my gosh. Stephen Graham Jones is a great writer. Holy shit, is he a good writer. Oh my God. It's just so unique. I listened to the audiobook. At the end, he reads his acknowledgments in his own voice, and the cadence of his voice is his writing style. And not just the cadence, but the way he speaks.
He's so outside the box. He speaks in metaphor. He speaks in simile. How? I feel like he's just like, his mind is expanded beyond a human. Like, he's inhuman in his greatness.
The story, the way it wrapped up, it managed to take this horrific story and turn it into folklore with a lesson to be learned about pride and respect and kindness. Oh my God. I'm going to be thinking about this book for so long. I'm so glad I read this. I'm giving it 5 stars. You have to pay attention to every sentence. The way he describes things, it's like casual gore.
Then they gutted out this person and ripped off their jaw and
I don't know, it's like, it's really weird. If you're not fully paying attention, then you can miss something and be like, wait, that person's dead now? What did I miss? I had to rewind several times, so it might be better to read the physical book for this. I don't know, but the narrator was great. He was really good. I listened to it at 1.4, so I maybe should have slowed it down. If you've listened to your audiobooks fast, maybe slow it down for this one, because every sentence, every word is imperative. I feel so out of it. Like I don't feel human right now. Wow. Just wow. The very end, it wasn't for reasons of being scared, but I literally got goosebumps. I literally got chills. Like, this affected me on a kinesthetic level. I can't wait to look at other people's reviews of this and see how other people liked this, because I'm just reeling right now. My head is in shambles. My brain is gone and my head is empty and I'm no longer human. So let's kind of dive into what I got out of this vlog, how I feel about these books, and wrap this up in a way that makes sense. We read The Drowning Kind. This one I actually really liked. As far as kind of my first intentional foray into this genre, and I say intentional because I know a lot of the thriller books I read cross over into that as well, and so I've always viewed them as thriller, but they are considered to be horror, some of them. This one, going into it, I didn't really know what to expect, other than this was going to be kind of a haunting story. I really enjoyed it. I actually really did. I ended up giving it 3.75 stars, but I'm considering bumping that up to a 4 star, because upon reflection, I did have fun with this book. I enjoyed the dual timelines. I liked how they were connected. I felt like all of the threads came back around, and while the ending wasn't wrapped up like a nice little bow, there were still some little bits that were left to linger in your mind. So I did enjoy that. I don't like endings to be too ambiguous, but I like a little bit of questioning going on that leaves you thinking about it afterwards and maybe contemplating if they were different things that you hadn't considered. I thought it was well written. I thought it was well thought out. I loved all of the connections that were made as you go along, and I loved the idea of trying to figure it out myself as I went. Was I incredibly scared? No. Did it have great creepy vibes? Yes, absolutely. I'm definitely interested in exploring more of Jennifer McMahon's writing, and I know another one of her books that is popular, I think it's called The Winter People, which is one maybe I'll wait till it gets cold out to try that one, just to kind of get the wintry vibes. I respect this novel. I do recommend that if that's something you're considering checking out. I liked it. Moving on to The Haunting of Hill House by Shirley Jackson, I was really disappointed in. I felt like the first half of the book was great, almost perfection for me, and I honestly thought this was going to be 5 stars when I was getting into it. I really enjoyed getting to know these characters and getting to understand their little idiosyncrasies, and I enjoyed their connection as a group of people all together. I also really liked the psychological aspect of this, and that the hauntings that are happening are affecting them on a psychological level, and their behaviors are therefore changing. And the fact that that isn't necessarily explained is okay with me, because the human mind is a wild and crazy beast. I like the idea of how kind of spirits can affect your brain chemistry and the things that are going on inside your body. But what I didn't like about this was the lack of explanation of the haunting itself and the house itself. We were never told what it is that they were afraid of, what's going on, and potentially that is intentional. In fact, it probably was intentional, but it's just not to my taste that I prefer. I want to know. So they gave us the history of this house and where it was left and why they think it's haunted, but then they never continued that story and never wrap up anything to tell you how that is connected to the things that have been happening in this house and the things that are happening to these people. It was really frustrating for me, and I just didn't understand why we wouldn't go there. Why tell the story in the first place to begin with if you're not going to explain that? And for me, that's the part of a book that is satisfying to me, when I go through the whole book not realizing what the connection is, and then at the very end it's revealed and I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that the whole time. And so that's really what I was looking for with this read that I absolutely did not get. I also really wanted more of a scientific approach to this, since Dr. Montague, his intention was to debunk this. Now, we did get the part where he kind of measured all of the angles of the house, and that kind of explained some of the things that were weird, that everything's just a little bit off kilter, not enough to notice, but enough to perhaps skew your perspective a little bit. And then we got some of the perhaps more pseudoscientific experiments from Mrs. Montague when she got there. But nothing involving these women that came there for the intent purpose of being involved in this investigation because of their specific attributes that they brought to the table, which is another thing we never even explored. The fact that Theodora is supposed to have telepathy, and the other woman, Ellen, what is her name? She supposedly had some kind of encounter with a poltergeist in her past. So I want to know about that. I want to know about those stories. Why these women? Why now? Is it some kind of fate, some fated thing where they're all supposed to wind up together and it's going to solve some problems that they're having in their life that are connected to these specific talents of theirs? And what can they actually bring to the table? Because Dr. Montague picked these women because they have these attributes, but then didn't use those attributes for anything. We didn't even touch on them after it was mentioned. We didn't ever go back to that. So I just thought that was really weird. Like, why? Why? They could have been anybody. They could have been, lived down the street and they said, hey, come on over, and it wouldn't have made any difference. So why mention that? It makes no sense to me. The writing style I enjoyed, and I loved the deep dive into these characters and getting to know them, and I thought they were absolutely likable. Aside from Mrs. Montague and her friend, they were assholes, but they don't have to be likable. but I was intrigued by this, but I was never, there was no follow through for me. And that's why I didn't like this. And I would not recommend it, if I'm being honest. And I'm probably in the minority of people as far as I know people love this book. I've looked up reviews since then, and I was hard pressed to find anybody that didn't enjoy this book. I found a couple, but overwhelmingly, the majority of people enjoy this book, which is why it's a classic. But for me, it just wasn't for me. I can only speak through my experience of this, and that's how I rate books. So it's getting a 2.5, unfortunately for me. Lastly, we have The Only Good Indians by Mr. Stephen Graham Jones. I loved this book. Absolutely loved it. 5 stars. This one came the closest for me to terrifying me. I will say, like, there was a point where I was like, okay, I'm feeling a little bit off kilter. I'm feeling a little bit frightened. Not because I believed in these spirits or that I think they're gonna come after me or something, but I was able to get wrapped up in the story in that way where I was empathizing with the characters. Most of this book, I was incredibly confused the entirety of the way through and just had really no idea what was going on. There were so many twists and turns. The writing style was absolutely fantastic, completely 100% unique, beautiful yet abrupt at the same time, which I appreciate so much. I'm definitely going to be reading more from this author in the future. This again was the first time that I've read anything by Stephen Graham Jones, and the ending I just thought was so fantastic, and it gave me that absolute satisfaction that I look for in books. And again, maybe that's just me, but I wanted to be satisfied at the end, and I was. While the narration was kind of lofty, in a way vague, it did a great job of explaining why. Why was this person being haunted, or these people being haunted? And you don't get that off the bat. You have to learn that. It's like a journey. You have to learn it on your way as you go. How we had this horrific, terrible story and then came around full circle and were able to make this into kind of a fable that is being passed on to generations and has a point to it and has a lesson to learn. Just great. I mean, awesome. That blew me away, absolutely blew my mind. I just thought it was incredible. It was a great read, and now I'm still thinking about it. I'm still thinking about this book and have these mental images in my mind that wouldn't necessarily be scary unless it's in this context, and it's just incredible how he's able to build these landscapes of character and plot and throw them into your head. And I feel like I see the world from a different perspective after reading this book, which is really, really awesome. I definitely want to continue on with the series. I want to pick, in fact, I think the next subgenre that I'm going to explore is going to be possession. I was raised Catholic, and at this point in my life consider myself to be a humanist. I believe in vibrations, low vibration, high vibration, but I don't believe in God per se. I don't believe in evil. I don't believe in demons. But I spent a majority of my youth being terrified of demons. And that's part of the reason why I left the faith, because I was living my life in fear of God, and I just didn't think that that was a good way to motivate people to be good. And while I took away a lot of good moral values from what I learned, it just doesn't fit with me. And again, I don't judge anybody for believing anything that they believe. Like, you do you. But this is just for me. Anyway, the reason I'm bringing up this point is that I feel like since I've spent so much time in my youth being afraid of things like demons, maybe this is a good jumping off point to scare the shit out of me. So if you guys have any books, recommendations about possession, I mean, obviously The Exorcist has to be one of them, but so I'm gonna need 2 other books about possession, and as of now, I don't know of any others. So if you know of any other books about possession, let me know, and I will look into that, add that to my TBR, and see if we can put that together for the next video in this series. I think that's gonna be it. If you're still with me, thank you so much. I appreciate you. If you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe. It really does help me out, and I appreciate it so much. I will see you guys next time, wherever that may be. Wherever that may be. I said whenever I said whatever that may be. Oh, oh, I said whenever that may be. Yeah, yeah, ooh, ooh, ooh. Also, I went to the gym today. My husband and I both are fully vaccinated, and so we joined a gym, trying to get that COVID weight off. And I actually went and worked out this morning, and have more energy than I've ever had. The first few times I went back, I came home and I just passed out and I couldn't hardly function at work the next day. My body was done. I walk a lot all day as it is, you know, when I'm carrying the mail. But today is the first day I worked out and I came home feeling fully energized. And I'm happy. That's gonna be it. Don't forget that life is short, so read Riley. Cheers.